Imagine this. Millions are dying from a preventable disease. In the shadows, giant corporations spend massive amounts, not to save lives, but to better sell the very thing that's killing their customers. Unfortunately, this dystopian story is real. Meet the sugar industry, aka Big Sugar. These are the guys who've been spreading misinformation about their product for almost a century. But what's so bad about sugar, you ask? It tastes great. In fact, some sugar in your diet can be helpful, especially if you're extremely active, supplying muscles with a source of energy. The problem is that Americans consume 82 grams of sugar per day, more than 4 times the recommended amount. This can have startling health consequences. First, there's type 2 diabetes, a disease defined by high blood sugar levels over a prolonged period. If untreated, diabetes can cause blindness, strokes, kidney failure, limb amputation, heart disease, and death. It ranks as the 7th leading cause of death in the US, with around 2 million new cases diagnosed yearly. Though diabetes dates all the way back to the 6th century BC, it was incredibly rare for much of human history, only affecting the wealthy, who had the time and money to sit around eating sweets. But in the early 20th century, American doctors started to notice huge increases in diabetes cases, as much as 400% in some cities in just a few decades. This trend continued, and today 9.3% of Americans, almost 30 million, have diabetes, compared to 0.25% just a century ago. So what's the cause? Physicians and public health officials have long pointed towards sugar as the obvious suspect, since the rise in type 2 diabetes almost perfectly mirrors the rise in sugar consumption. As Americans began eating massive amounts of candy, ice cream, and soda made cheap by mass sugar production, type 2 diabetes went from only affecting the wealthy to affecting everyone. This westernized diet spread across the globe, eventually reaching those in even the most remote rural areas, such as the Inuit people in Alaska, Canada, and Greenland. Through the 1960s, diabetes was virtually non-existent within these populations, but now 9% have diabetes, on par with developed countries. Worldwide, the number of people with diabetes has skyrocketed from around 110 million in 1980 to over 420 million today. Obesity has also gone through the roof. 50 years ago, only 1 in 8 American adults were obese. Now it's more than 1 in 3. Not surprising, since obesity and type 2 diabetes go hand in hand, and both increase the risk of heart disease, which is now the leading cause of death in the US. Today, almost 1 in 4 deaths are the result of heart disease. Enter Big Sugar. FDR once described these guys as the most powerful pressure group he ever faced. Let's look at some of their efforts. In 1928, industry leaders created the Sugar Institute. This group actually promoted sugar as a health food through ads placed in various newspapers and magazines. Later, the sugar industry decided that the best way to increase profits was by creating their very own science. So they made the Sugar Research Foundation. This nonprofit trumpeted the merits of sugar while funding research that would back up their claims. By 1951, grants worth a whopping $3 million, $29 million today, had already been awarded to academics from Harvard, Princeton, Caltech, and other research universities. Studies funded by the recently renamed Sugar Association, Inc. would directly counter research about the dangers of sugar. Think sugar can cause cavities and tooth decay? Not according to the Sugar Association. 3 years later, the Sugar Association launched a huge ad campaign that extolled the benefits of sugar, especially for children. To help, they hired one of the best ad agencies in the country, Leo Burnett, and gave them a whopping $1.8 million budget, $16 million today. Fast forward to 2017, Big Sugar is still at it, fiercely lobbying against a new FDA regulation that would require nutrition labels to clearly indicate the amount of sugar in products, no matter the source. Thankfully, and despite Big Sugar's best efforts, modern science is clear. Excessive sugar consumption contributes to type 2 diabetes and other serious health conditions. Unfortunately, avoiding sugar still isn't that easy due to what is now known as added sugars. But that's a topic for another day, or in this case, another video. For more information, check out our complete sugar facts.